Hello everyone and welcome to a new video dedicated to our beloved Snoopy and the world of Peanuts. Charlie Brown finds himself once again under observation, not by an adult or a teacher, but by Patty, one of the first female figures in the Peanuts world. The strip from January 2nd, 1951, opens with a simple question that hides a small psychological experiment. Are you brave, Charlie Brown? In these early weeks of the series, Charles Schulz is already carefully outlining the distinctive characteristics of his characters, and this strip is a small example of the playful, yet deep approach he takes to sketching them. In this brief daily sketch, we see both Charlie Brown's cocky, self-assured side and Patty's ingenuity, ready to test him in a direct way. But beneath the surface, something more lies hidden. A reflection on what it truly means to be brave, and how children try to prove and demonstrate their worth in the eyes of others. In just 4 vignettes, Schulz manages to capture an interaction that is as simple as it is universal, enriched with dry and subtle humor. And as always, there's that little surprise at the end, that joke that manages to bring a smile, while also making us think. In this case, bravery is measured by the ability to not react to a sudden scare. But is it really that easy to stay impassive in the face of a big boo? In the first vignette, Patty walks close to Charlie Brown with a determined stride and a gaze full of curiosity. Her posture is expressive. Her body leans slightly forward, her arms perhaps relaxed but ready to emphasize the question she's asking, her eyes fixed on Charlie Brown. There's a clear intentionality in her gesture, an almost provocative tone, as if she wants to test him. It's a simple question. Are you brave, Charlie Brown? But it's loaded with subtext. It's as if she wants to dig deeper, to look for a crack in the image Charlie Brown has of himself, or perhaps, simply, to enjoy seeing him in a bit of trouble. Charlie Brown, for his part, doesn't back down. He stays composed, with an expression that blends confidence and a touch of pride. His body is poised, his hands in a position that conveys openness, and his smile, though subtle, hints that he feels up to the challenge. In that moment, he almost seems eager to prove something, not only to Patty, but also to himself. It's interesting to note how Schulz, even in these early strips, manages to convey complex elements with minimal strokes. The tilt of a torso, the direction of a glance, the silence between words, all evoke deep dynamics. This scene, seemingly simple, also tells us a lot about the relationship between the two characters. Patty appears as the more energetic, more expansive one. Her attitude is dynamic, almost theatrical, as if she's playing a role to get a reaction. Charlie Brown, on the other hand, is more reserved, more reflective, but no less determined. He seems to know he's about to be judged, and perhaps even teased, but he accepts the game with a calm resignation, as if he's already aware of the role he'll play in his life, that of the gentle target of daily provocations. And so, from this first interaction, Schulz begins to build that relational universe of subtle balances, small challenges, and tender contradictions that will make Peanuts so human and profound. In the second vignette, the tension really starts to rise. Charlie Brown, with surprising quickness, responds to Patty's remark with enthusiasm and determination. His statement about his courage is not just an answer, it's a real declaration of intent, almost a cry to be recognized and taken seriously. I'll say I am. Just try me. These words, though spoken with apparent confidence, reveal a desire to appear strong, accepted, and up to expectations. It's a moment where the mask of courage overlaps with his natural insecurity, creating that typical ambiguity that makes Charlie Brown so human. His body language betrays him slightly. His posture is more rigid, his arms may gesture towards a defensive or challenging position, but it's clear that behind that firmness, there's something constructed. Patty also changes her attitude. She is no longer the relaxed and ironic girl from the previous vignette. Now, she becomes serious, almost determined, as if she is truly taking Charlie Brown's challenge seriously. Her expression communicates focus, and perhaps a hint of mischief. From a linguistic point of view, Schulz continues to use a simple and direct style, but that doesn't make it lacking in expressive power. In fact, it's this simplicity that allows emotions to emerge more purely, without any superfluous layers. The words spoken by the characters are few, but enough to clearly outline their emotions and relational dynamics. This second vignette, therefore, serves as a narrative turning point. From a playful or seemingly light situation, we are moving towards a moment of breaking, a turning point that will inevitably lead to a reaction. Schulz, with great skill, builds the tension step by step, allowing expressions and small gestures to tell more than words. In the third vignette, the long-awaited action finally unfolds. Patty bursts energetically into the quiet of the first two vignettes, shouting a decisive boo. As she bends slightly at the knees and leans forward, arms outstretched toward Charlie Brown. The speech balloon containing her cry is large and dynamic, almost leaping out of the background, shattering the static balance that had been established in the previous moments. It's a visual explosion that breaks the apparent calm, capturing the reader's attention in an instant. This is a perfect example of Charles Schulz's refined visual humor. Without the need for special effects or superfluous words, the author constructs a small comedic crescendo that culminates in a sudden, theatrical gesture. The scene, silent until now, is suddenly overtaken by this shout that seems to echo in the reader's mind, despite remaining confined within the static world of the page. But here comes the surprise. Charlie Brown, the target of this attempt to frighten him, remains completely still. No jump, no expression of fear. His face is calm, even unperturbed, almost absent. This choice is far from accidental. In fact, it is essential to the tone and effectiveness of the strip. The reader, after such a build-up, expects a reaction and instead finds a disconcerting stillness that provokes laughter precisely because of its unexpected nature. It's a type of humor born from contrast, from the absence of what one anticipates. But more subtly, it is also a small commentary on childhood psychology. Children in their games test themselves and others. They try to scare one another, to measure their courage through simple, immediate challenges. And in this sense, Schulz offers us an authentic portrait of childhood, a world made of theatrical gestures, of small daily trials, where even a simple boo can become a memorable scene. In the fourth vignette, Charlie Brown turns to Patty with pride and delivers the final line. "See, I didn't bat an eye." It's a key moment in which his confidence appears not only intact, but perhaps even strengthened. That sentence, short yet loaded with meaning, is like a medal he pins on his own chest. But it's precisely here that the scene gains depth. Beneath the surface simplicity lies a subtle and fascinating ambiguity. The reader might ask, was he truly brave, or did he merely suppress his reaction out of pride? It's this tension, this space deliberately left open to interpretation, that makes the final vignette so powerful. Schulz's narrative strength lies exactly in this ambivalence. He doesn't provide answers, doesn't lock the meaning into a single moral. On the contrary, he opens it up. Charlie Brown, with that final smile of his, conveys something elusive. It's a satisfied smile, yes, but also slightly smug, perhaps even self-ironic. It's as if he's aware of having won a small inner battle, or at least of having given the impression of doing so. And this subtle distinction between being and appearing is what makes the scene all the more interesting. Patty, for her part, remains silent. She doesn't reply, nor does she react with words or exaggerated gestures. Her face is motionless, yet not without expression. Is she surprised? Impressed? Simply indifferent? Once again, Schulz leaves space for the reader, allowing each person to fill that silence with their own sensitivity. Perhaps Patty simply accepts the outcome, or perhaps she wonders whether Charlie Brown's gesture truly holds as much weight as he believes. But we'll never know, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing more is needed. The interaction closes with that sense of suspension, and the reader is left with a smile on their face, but also with a quiet reflection that lingers in their mind. With just a few essential lines, a carefully measured use of silence, and a finale that doesn't seek effect but truth, Schulz once again manages to tell us something profoundly human. This is the miracle of the Peanuts. In their apparent lightness, they speak to us about the ways we build, or pretend to build, an image of ourselves. And in the simplicity of the drawing, in the absence of embellishments or explanations, lies all the greatness of his writing. This strip is also a perfect example of the narrative structure of the Peanuts. For vignettes, a simple premise, a direct development, a comedic climax, and a quiet yet meaningful ending. There's no need for major events, just small, genuine moments to tell something deeper. Hattie, a character often forgotten in the later stages of the series, plays a key role in these early months, representing a strong and often dominant voice in her interactions with Charlie Brown. And this interaction is one of many that show us how the world of the Peanuts, right from the beginning, was already much richer and more layered than it might have seemed.
If you enjoyed yourselves, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and activate the little bell to stay updated, and see you next friends.